Says the Halacha B'ra, that's underneath the two lines. B'masechet Brachot, in tractate Brachot, in the Talmud, Amru, they say, Hanichnas leveit hakiseh, one who enters the bathroom should say, Omer should say, and in parentheses, El hamalachim hamilavim oto, to the angels which escort him. Rashi explains that. Kit kabdu mechubadim kdoshim meshartei elyon. I'm going to read you the whole text. I found it in the Kaf HaChaim, which is, the Kaf HaChaim is the Sepharadic commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, one of the, it's fairly recent, maybe about 100 years ago. The Kaf HaChaim writes the following. He quotes the whole in its entirety. It's mentioned in the Tur. If you would like to look in the Tur, you'd see the whole prayer there also. And it goes like this. I'll do my best to translate it. Hitkabdu mechubadim. Please be honored, my honored ones. Kedoshim, the holy ones. Mishartei elyon, those who serve above. Shamruni, shamruni, protect me, protect me. Azruni, azruni, help me, help me. Hamtinuli, wait for me. Ad she'kanes ve'etzeh, until I go in and come out again. Kichen darkam shel bnei adam, this is the way of human beings, that we must go to the bathroom. V'chein yomar b'chol pa'am she'kanes, and you should say this every time you come inside the bathroom. So essentially, imagine that you were imagining in your head that everywhere you go, you're walking around with somebody. And everywhere you go, you're stopping, and angels, please wait outside for me, I'll be right back. That's the prayer that we're supposed to say. Maran in the Shulchan Aruch says we don't say this anymore. But it's mentioned in the Gemara. Even Maran himself says you're supposed to say it, and we don't have the custom anymore to say it. Does Maran say you shouldn't say it? No, what does he actually say? V'lo nahagu.
There's no custom.
Well, it's not the custom to say it. So he's saying people today don't say it. He doesn't say why not. Let's see inside. We're in the second line. V'katvu haposkim. Do you see that? It's 5 words from the second end of the second line. V'katvu haposkim. And the poskim write, Shedafka, only mishahu yireh shamayim, only someone who is a yireh shamayim, fears heaven, v'chasid, and is known to be exceptionally righteous. Again, Moshe Chaim, this falls into the category of things we spoke about on Shavuot night. You see again another halacha, but only chasidim are allowed to do it. Shashchina shora alav, that the Shechina rests on him. Reshai lomar ken is allowed to say this. It's not enough to have fear of heaven, and it's not enough to be righteous. We have to have fear of heaven, be righteous, and know the Shechina rests on you. Umachmat ken, and because of this, lo nahagu bizmanenu leomro. Nowadays, we don't say it. Mipnei she'en anachnu, because we are not machazikim et atzmeinu, considering ourselves lirei shamayim, to such fears of heaven, shemalachim elavim otam, that angels actually escort us. Shenuvakesh mehem she'amtinu lanu ad shenetzeh, to the point where we're going to ask them every time we go to the bathroom, please wait outside. Come on, we're not that holy. We're not that holy. There used to be generations like that, not anymore. We're not on that level.
Can you explain what is Shechina?
Wonderful. Moshe Chaim always asks the easy questions.
Yeah, because before Baruch Shehamar, we also say that actually it's in the Chabad Siddur we say.
Oh, the Shem Yichud, Kuchar Bechu.
Yeah.
We say it also just before Shachar. Not everyone says it. Moroccans didn't say it. I don't think the Yemenites said it either. Seems to be that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and again, this is gonna, I'm not a Kabbalist, so don't catch me on things that are Kabbalistic in nature. It seems to be that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has not parts of him, but different aspects of him. You know, like you ask somebody, so who are you? You could say, I'm Yoni Halevy. Oh, what are you? I am a lot of things. I could either be a rabbi, this is my job. I could be a teacher, that's what I do. I could be a husband, that's what I am. I could be someone's child. All different aspects of the same thing. They're not parts of him. It's very dangerous when people teach Kabbalah and they start to teach that there's this part of Hashem and that part of Hashem, and they connect together, that very clearly leads into concepts like having a God who's a Trinity. I mean, suddenly you have a Father and a Son and a Holy Ghost. Why is the Holy Ghost different than the Shekhinah? So I know this from my limited understanding of Kabbalah, this is more of an aspect of Hashem than it is a different part of Hashem. We have to be very careful when we speak about that. The Shekhinah seems to be the part of Hashem that interacts most with the Jewish people. It's the one that speaks with the Jewish people. It's the part that rests on the Jewish people. It's the part that gives Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration. It's perhaps the part that the prophets relate to the most. The Shekhinah is not... It's like the lower aspect of Hashem. If you were to imagine Hashem as a ladder, it would be like the first step. For us, that's a big step, but for other people, I mean, they're higher. Moshe Rabbeinu reached panim el panim, face to face. So when we say in general in halachic literature that the Shekhinah rests on somebody, we refer to someone who feels inside of himself that he has higher spiritual capabilities and a closer connection to Hashem than other people do. So to our understanding, this is not just a person who's holy and does holy things, but a person who knows about himself, that he knows that he has two angels that walk around with him. And therefore, when he stops in front of the bathroom, he's not mumbling some prayer, oh guys, stay outside. He sees the angels walking with him. Today, we're still like, we're just taking the Shulchan Aruch's word for it, that there's angels that are even here. We don't even know what an angel looks like. Yeah? So, this is a person who knows, he's aware, and it's his obligation, because he's aware, to tell them, please wait outside. You and I, maybe you, but not I. I'm not aware of the angels around me. So if I would stop in front of the bathroom and say, angels, take a break, I'm going in. People would think we're crazy. And we would think we were crazy. And worse than that, that actually would lead you to a place of gavav, like ego. Oh, I have angels, they walk with me, they go with me, they travel with me. Stop. Let's first make sure you know how to walk down the street on your own. Let's make sure you know how to walk down the street with your wife. Angels, they can wait a little bit until they come walk with you. That's what Maran seems to be saying, and that's what my understanding of Shekhinah is. It's a little bit of a higher understanding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but it's not a prophet. That's not maybe absolutely wrong, but that's what I understand. Okay? B'ezrat Hashem. I think that for this specific halakha, because it touches on a fundamental principle of things that were and then changed, and who allowed this change, or why did this change happen? I think this is a little bit more than just a dry halakha, as much as it has a little bit of hashkafa, a little bit of emunah inside of it. So I want to go through the birur halakha here. You see on the bottom of the page, there's a bold Siman Gimel. You see that? Bottom left? Yeah, in the bottom left in the columns. Okay, so Rabbi David Yosef is going to explain himself. And he's going to tell you why it is that he wrote what he wrote on top. It's understandable the Shulchan Aruch wrote it, but why did Rabbi David Yosef say, he said things that Maran didn't say. He mentions they have to be righteous and they have the Shekhinah. Well, Maran didn't say that. Maran just says we don't have the custom to say it. Maybe we don't have the custom to say it because we got rid of it. Who knows? Why is this the reason? So let's see the sources. He says, Aleph. Hine, Rabbi David Abu Draham. Rabbi David Abu Draham, you know who he is? Haven't heard of him before?
I've heard of him.
Abu Draham.
He was in Spain?
Definitely he wasn't in Poland. This is for sure. Abu Draham. Maybe you'll look up first because you're good at this. Abu Draham, exactly when he lived. He was one of the Rishonim, the early rabbis.
He lived in...
What?
Where did he live?
I think in Spain, but I want Yosef to check it out for us. Rabbi David Abu Draham did something very interesting. He wrote a book. We call it Abu Draham because he wrote it, but it's a book in which he goes through like all the prayer services and all the Jewish customs and why this happened here and why this happened here, why we say this prayer, why we don't say this prayer, what the text of the prayer is. Some very, very interesting things. And actually, there are a number of books like this. There's a Machzor Vitri, there's the Kolbo, there's a number of books that are in similar style. This is like an early book of Jewish customs, not necessarily halachot, but more like why do we say Aleinu l'Shabech? You would find it in there. Like why do we sing Yigdal Elohim Chai? It could be it wasn't even written in the time of the Buddha. It doesn't even know what you're talking about. So this is the kind of book the Buddha is. So when you want to go and look at do we say something? Do we not say something? Why do we say something? You wouldn't open up You wouldn't open up a Shulchan Aruch for that, because the Shulchan Aruch, if you've noticed so far, he doesn't tell you what brachot you're supposed to say in the morning. He tells you you're supposed to make the brachot. He says you're supposed to say korbanot. And he assumes that you already know what that means. The Shulchan Aruch, it's a mistake. People think it includes everything inside the Shulchan Aruch. It's an all-inclusive book from A to Z. It's not like that. Shulchan Aruch is working with people who he assumes know a lot.
Already.
Right. People who already know a lot, and he's assuming, okay, so I'll just clarify in your head. Right? Of course you remember this was an argument between Bet Hillel and Bet Shammai. So I'm not going to tell you what they were arguing about, I'm just going to tell you who won, right? And that's a crazy thing. Who knows that much Torah? But people lived in a different world where Torah was their life. It wasn't something they did, 5 minutes a day so they could get mitzvah points in the school report card. Right? This is something they did because it was their life. So along comes the Abu Dhaham, and this is a book that I can tell you, I'm embarrassed to say, I don't have it in my library. I used to have it in my library in Israel until it ended up in Korea somewhere. Yeah, but I don't have it in my library today here, and I don't have it in my library at the Beit Knesset. It's one of those books. It's one volume, if I'm not mistaken. It's something good to look at, something good to have. And it's in Hebrew, to the best of my knowledge. I don't know if they translate it into English. But people today study so many funny books. I don't want to say anything, but I was at someone's house and I was watching what books they read. Jewish books. They spend a lot of time. They study. But there are classic books that you never even studied before. Forget like Chumash and Rashi. Forget the big things that everyone's supposed to know. But there are books of the Rishonim, like the Kuzari. You studied the Rambam before. You have to study the real books that have some major Jewish ideas in them. Today, the style of a book is they cut one idea and they read a whole book about it, 300 pages. You open up the Rambam, your whole life you could study the Rambam, because in his one sentence, he included 30 ideas that you're going to have to spend 30 years understanding. That shouldn't hold you back. But, we already are in a Kollel. You've been learning in a Kollel now, 3 Simanim Shulchan Aruch. Don't let people water you down. You're not stupid. You're not. So Hebrew is not your first language, so you don't pull out Hebrew books from the bookshelf and rip them open. I know exactly what it is. Okay, you're going to get there. Don't worry. We have many, many more Simanim to go. But you guys are very intelligent people, and treat yourself like intelligent people who read intelligent Jewish books. Go online, find Jewish classics, works that are classics, and learn them, read them. The Abu Dhaham, it's one of those books. I don't know if there's in English, but I'm sure someone can look up at least parts of it in English. It's an interesting book. Did you find out where he's from?
Yeah, Seville, Spain.
Okay, Seville?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sevilla. And the year 1340.
That's when he was born, or he died?
I don't know.
No, it says 1340.
FL period
1340.
1340.
Okay, so
if that means he was born or died.
he's one of, what is it, N?
What is what?
What did you say? What's by the date?
Oh, 1340. It says FL period 1340. I don't know.
Interesting, I don't know what that means.
What country?
Yeah, Spain.
Spain? Okay.
What is? Yeah.
1340, right
Okay,
before the big
interesting.
riots in Spain.
Right, he seems to have been aware already of the Rosh. Remember the Rosh?
Mm-hmm.
The one who wrote a lot of commentaries on the Gemara of halachic nature. It's one of the 3 people Rabbi Yosef Cairo chooses in between. He already knew about them. He was already incorporating them in his book. He seems to have stayed at his house. That's what it said over there in Wikipedia. And I don't know if all this is true, but this is, at least it puts you in a general context. He pretty much was right until the first tour, the tour Shulchan Aruch. Yeah. So this is what he writes. Hine Rabbi David Abu Dhaham. I know there are different ways to pronounce it. Some people say Abu Derham, I've heard. I don't know what the proper pronunciation is, but we in Hebrew say Abu Derham. That's the... Could be because we don't know how to read. Katav b'shem Chidushei Dvash. He writes in the name of a book called Chidushei Dvash. I have a friend who signs his name. Dvash means honey in Hebrew. So Dvash, my friend signs his name always Dvash, honey. So what's with the Dvash? His name is David Ben Shtush. That's his name. So he's Dvash. That's an acronym. So she'ein lo omro, a person shouldn't say it, ela yireh shamayim v'chasid v'chulei. Only if a person is yireh shamayim and chasid, etc. Then you already find it by Rabbi David Abu Dhaham that a person should not say this prayer unless he's known, or he knows about himself, that he should be saying it. V'katav al zeh ha-Bet Yosef. The Bet Yosef writes on this Abu Dhaham. He quotes the Abu Dhaham, and he says in his opinion. Who's the Bet Yosef?
No, Maran.
Maran's that wrote the Bet Yosef. So Maran says, this is my opinion, on the Abudan. Shenira, it appears, Shemipnei zeh, that because of this, nidbatel milomro klal, people don't say it anymore b'dorot halalu in our generation. It seems to be that this reasoning that the Abudan mentions, that's the first time in Jewish history in the 1300s where you find someone records that Jews, that the only person who should say it is someone who's Yireh Shamayim. So says the Bet Yosef, this must be the reason why nobody says it anymore. I saw it also in the Gemara, but I don't see anybody who says it. והגאון מהר"ח הכהן בספר מקור חיים כתב, and the Maharach HaKohen writes in his book, שבוודאי, that for sure, מלאכי השרת מלווים אותנו. Obviously the angels walk around with us. What is he saying different? Even today, angels walk around with us. So you don't see them? Good for you. But they're there. So then why shouldn't I say this prayer? He says, "Rak nahagu shelo lomro." We have the minhag not to say it. Demechazeh, because it appears karamut rucha, like a high spirit, like a arrogant. So you don't see the angels. So what that the Mekubalim tell you have angels that walk around with you? But stop pretending about things that you don't know that you actually have. Just be real. Don't pretend. And it's a little bit egotistical to stop every time before you go to the bathroom.
I don't know about the bodyguard.
You don't know about the bodyguard?
Bodyguard.
Yeah, that's what they do. That's their job. V'hivyo maran achida. The chida, Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Hazulai mentions this b'machzik beracha in his book Machzik Beracha. Ulam bad b'machzik beracha sham in his book Machzik Beracha. Hevi b'shem sefer matzat shmorim. He brings down in the name of a different book matzat shmorim. Shetzarich lizaher laomro b'chol pam shnichnas lebet hakiseh. You must be very careful to say this prayer every time before you go to the bathroom.
Every time.
So the Chida, he writes that the angels are around, but the custom is not to say it. But you should be careful to say it every time before you go to the bathroom.
Sounds
Because if I don't say it, they could come with me to the bathroom or what? Yeah, I see
guess.
him or not see him, but he's here. So if I'm supposed to stop him here, I should stop him because I know that he's here. If I don't say, he will come with me to the bathroom.
No, the angel knows to stay outside, but you're being rude.
So why did we say it at the first time in the past?
It's a party.
If angel knows what to do.
Because like when you leave your friend's house, you say goodbye. He knows you're leaving. You just have to be nice and say goodbye. It's midot. It's the character traits. So, V'shechen katav gam hamaharam papirash. The Maharam Papirash also writes b'sefer Or Tzadikim, in the book Or Tzadikim, b'shem Rabbeinu Ha'ari, stepson the Ha'ari, the lion of Tzvat, shechidesh la'omro gam achshav. He reinstituted the practice of saying this prayer. Why? For a completely different reason. You see, before I tell you what the Ha'ari says, the Kabbalists don't always understand angels to mean what you and I think about. Look at fluffy wings and a little crowd. Like, it's not how angels look. Right? Now, I know if you look in the Nevi'im, we just read now in one of the Nevi'im. Shabbat's going to be, or even before. We read about how the angels look. They look very scary, according to the Nevi'im. But we don't actually, according to the Mekubalim, angels are not necessarily their own kind of being. They perform a function. An angel, like you know that very often the word malach in Hebrew could also mean what else? Soul, no, no. Itai, do you remember when he says Vishlach malachim? What else could that mean? Not just angels, but also? Messengers. Very nice, messengers. Oh, see? You get your Jewish tuition back.
Okay.
So Rashi there says, and in this case, malachim is not just angels, but also could be messengers. Like, you know, you send a postman, he's also considered a malach. Meaning a malach is something with a purpose. It could be a message, it could be a whatever it is that it could be. And the Ari Kadosh says,
Each angel does only one thing, right?
right. So also, what does that mean? We read a lot of very deep things on very superficial levels. Like, an angel can only do one thing. What if Hashem tells him to do two things?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right, okay, so I don't understand anything about angels, but the Mekubalim, they have a little bit of a different understanding of what is an angel. So what the Ari Kadosh says here, Uvazen Itzol, and from this you'll be saved, Shelo yeharher b'divrei Torah b'veit hakiseh. That you will not think about words of Torah while you're sitting in the bathroom. So what does the Ari HaKadosh seem to understand? That's a problem, right? Some people struggle with this problem. They go to the bathroom and all they can think about is what you learned in that Kollel.
So it's
I have
kind of
something to read.
I've had that happen.
Are you allowed to think about these things in the bathroom?
No,
No.
Or laptop or
an
something.
unclean place.
So yeah, you're not allowed to think about it. Very nice. You're not allowed to think about these things in an unclean place. So the Ari HaKadosh says, you think angels, angels, angels. But when you have angels around you, they inspire you to think about Torah. It could be what the Ari HaKadosh is saying is another reason to say this. Don't get stuck on the fact that you don't see your angels. But the angels are going to inspire you to think of this presence, whatever it is, whatever these malachim are. They're going to inspire you to think about Torah in the wrong place. Not because they're like trying to trick you, yeah? Because you're just in the presence of something bigger, and you're going to be in the bathroom, and he went to practice. That was and you're going to think about all kinds of things that are a little bit too holy for being inside of the bathroom. And the Ari HaKadosh says, therefore, a person should make sure that they say this prayer even nowadays.
To go ahead and say it.
Yeah. So now we have a machloket here, Rabbi David Abudraham, and on the other hand you have the Ari HaKadosh. And then in the middle you have Maran. Maran doesn't tell you what to do. Maran seems to say you should say it. But what does he say? The custom is not to say it. The custom is not to say it. Okay? וכן כתב בספר מגיד מי שרים. Oh, now we really got complicated. Forget like the halachist Kabbalist side of this argument. You now have inside of Maran two personalities. I don't know if you know this about Maran. Maran on one hand is a diehard fanatical halachist, and on the other hand, he's a diehard Kabbalist. It doesn't always work out together. Maran has a book that he wrote, and I'm aware that some academics challenge whether he actually wrote it or not, but we believe, according to our tradition, that he wrote it. Maran wrote a book called Magid Mei Sharim. I spoke to you about this once, ages ago, in our introductory classes. It was his recordings of...
Is that the path of righteous?
No.
the angel.
Very nice. The angel who used to... Very good. The angel who used to speak to Maran. It sounds the same, because Mesilat Yesharim is the path of the righteous. This is Magid Mei Sharim. It's almost the same words. Yeah. So the Magid Mei Sharim, he records these conversations he had with an angel that was sent specifically to him to tell him how he should live his life. And in that book, the angel tells Maran in Parshat Matot, Magid Amar Maran, the Magid, the angel, tells Maran, HaKadosh, Shomar Hitkabdu Mechubadim, that he should say this prayer of Hitkabdu Mechubadim. So you see, even Maran clearly seems to be saying the prayer. While on the Shulchan Aruch he records, not that you shouldn't say it, but that it's not the custom to say it. Could you say that Maran's opinion is that you shouldn't say it? Could you say it?
Yeah.
Could you say that that's Maran's opinion? Yeah. Could you also say that Maran is saying, not that you shouldn't say it, but rather that other people don't say it? He's just recording a fact. Could that also be the right way to read Maran?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so both ways, Maran's pretty vague here about what he tells you to do. He's not actually telling you to do anything. So, he finishes up over here. V'chein pasku kama acharonim, and there were a number of acharonim who agree with this understanding of the Arizal. Umikol makom, but in any case, Rabim me'acharonim, many of the acharonim, the later authorities, hiskimu lahalacha, agree lahalacha, lema shekadav Maran Bet Yosef, according to what Maran writes in the Bet Yosef, shelo lamor, not to say it, vehidu shekena minhag, and he said that was the custom, not to say it. And then he ends off with a very interesting statement. Sometimes when you don't know what to do between two customs, we have a saying that says, Puk chazi, go out and see, Mai amad davar, what the nation is doing. Go look what the Jews do. You're not sure. This one, that one. Go ask your grandmother. Does she say it or does she not say it? Now, your grandmother is not the Shulchan Aruch. But if you look at the Jewish people, you'll see that there's a consensus as to the way they do things. Sometimes it's important in understanding arguments or settling machlokot. Now, among those rabbis who say that you should say it, aside from the Arizal, you have some pretty big rabbis. Rabbi Chaim Palaji, you have in that list. You have the Ya'abetz, Rabbi Yaakov Emdin. But you have in the list of rabbis who say not to say it, so also some pretty big Kabbalists. And perhaps a few more mainstream Kabbalists, if I could use that phrase, mainstream Kabbalists. Included in that list of mainstream Kabbalists, the Ben Ish Chai. The Ben Ish Chai seems to say that you shouldn't say this today. Even he says what Arizal says, he still shouldn't say it. The Alter Rebbe of Chabad, the first Lubavitch Rebbe, who is a huge Kabbalist in his own right, and his Shulchan Aruch also mentions that you should not say this. And a number of other authorities that are Kabbalists and halachic authorities, they seem to say, don't say it. And that's the reason why Rabbi David Yosef in his conclusion said the only people who should say this prayer are
I have noticed some people say it.
People
before the bathroom?
I don't know, but
I don't think so. Maybe you're hanging out with some really holy people. Because we bring the halakha that you shouldn't say it at all unless you know that you're holy. And part of being holy is that nobody else knows that you say it. Yeah, because then that would defeat the purpose of saying it. Be humble and then keep going. So this is a classic example of a halakha that is debated by the Kabbalists, that perhaps went out of existence and came back into existence, then went back out of existence. And today, I don't think that we say Hitkabdu Mechubadim. I don't know about that rabbi I told you about was Ruach HaKodesh. I never asked him if he says this prayer or not. But when we get there, I'm sure we'll ask. What should we do?
one more thing. You go in the bathroom in a rush.
In a rush, right? Do you wait outside and you say it? Okay. And then we come now to Jack's favorite part of the Shulchan Aruch. We've been waiting for you for the whole time to do this.
Yeah.
Because you already know what we're in for, and they have no idea what they're in for.
I don't know what we're in for. And by the way, what he says, the translation says, is that at this time it is not customary to say it, which implies, according to this translation,
That's what it says in Hebrew also.
at this time?
Yeah, that nowadays we don't say. I mean, there used to be a time where people said it. Or what else were you going to imply
Well,
from
I
that?
was thinking maybe he was saying that in the future it may be customary
Interesting.
to say it.
No, interesting.
Yeah.
You should know that Maran lived in the same generation as that Rizal. And it could be that Rizal started catching fire, his opinion, right when Maran passed away. There are a group of Sepharadic Kabbalists, led by Rav Mordechai Eliyahu Alav Shalom. His opinion was that any time the Shulchan Aruch and Riyah Kadosh disagree, if Maran would have only seen what that Rizal would have written, he would take back his opinion. It's a rule of Ilmalei Ra'ah, if only he saw, he would take it back. You can imagine this upsets the diehard Shulchan Aruchniks. What do you mean? We believe this is the best book in the whole world. No, so if he would see your book, then he's going to change his mind. Who? What does he care? And so this has been a debate for the Sephardic circles until today. Would Maran take it back? Would Maran not take it back? The interesting thing here is, I mentioned the name, Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu. Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu, more than he's an Arizal guy, he's a Ben Ish Chai follower. So the Ben Ish Chai said you don't say it, so for him he solved the problem anyways, on both ends. From the Kabbalah side and from the Shulchan Aruch side. But essentially, you sometimes have those disputes. What would the Shulchan Aruch say had he seen what the Arizal wrote? Rabbi Yosef spent much of his early years battling this idea that Rabbi Yosef Karo wouldn't take back his opinion for anybody. And it didn't do him much good, it got him in a lot of trouble, but it very much styled out his way of psak. It's a very vague rule. If he would have seen this, he would have taken... Who says that? Who promises you that he would have done that? It's an interesting way to decide halachot. Okay, Baruch Hashem. So we're up to Siman, Seif Bet. Seif Bet is what you've all been waiting for. Top of page 36. This is an important halakha. Yehet tzanua, a person should be modest, bebeit hakiseh, inside of the bathroom. The beit hakiseh, again, is the house of the chair. Beit hakiseh. Tsanua. This is an important word to know. I just heard people say, you're not tznius. You can't be not tzniut. Tzniut is it's not the right word. You're either tsanua or she's a tsnua, but you can't be not tzniut. That's not the proper Hebrew word. So the word here, tsanua, is the adjective describing, or it's actually a noun for a person who is modest, or the adjective describing somebody who is modest. So a person should be modest in the bathroom. V'lo yigale atzmo, and he should not uncover himself ad sheyeshev, until he sits down. The reason being,
There's an angel waiting outside.
no, for the angels are in the last halakha. Why does he not uncover himself? No. Modesty, yeah. So he shouldn't be immodest until the last moment that he has to be. You shouldn't, start getting undressed in his front door, and by the time he makes it to the bathroom, he's ready to go. You should come to the bathroom, and even when he comes to the bathroom, you should only get undressed when he's ready to go to the bathroom. That's a yan of modesty, to be modest. And you might think, come on, this is ridiculous, and I really need to go to the bathroom. These halachot are meant to put inside of a person's idea that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is everywhere. So obviously a person has to go to the bathroom, like we told the angels. We would love to hang out with you, but we have to go to the bathroom because we're human beings. This whole chapter summarizes we are human beings. Hashem knows we're human beings. He expects us to be human beings. But He expects us to be human beings and not to be animals. And this is what's going to differentiate us. Haga, the Rama adds in a note. V'lo yilchu, two people should not go. V'lo yilchu, should not go. Shnei anashim biyachad. Two people should not go to the bathroom together. This is a problem.
Today.
Gam also lo yidaber sham. You should not speak in the bathroom. How many times I come to the bathroom here? Someone has to start. Oh, Shabbat Shalom. How are you? Come on, you're in the bathroom, my friend. We'll talk in the bit knesset. Visgol hadelet, and you should close the door. Be'odo sham, while you're still there. Mishum tzniut, again because of modesty. This idea of closing the door, I see that he's not going to discuss it. The Ben Ish Chai writes that according to Kabbalah, even when you're home alone in a dark house, you have to close the door. There's some kind of Shin Daled, some kind of being that he's the bathroom being, and he likes to come in and make problems, and therefore a person should make sure to close the door when they are in the bathroom, whatever that means. So just know that according to Kabbalah, it's not just because of modesty, but because of other reasons, and therefore, whereas the Rama might agree that if you're alone, so maybe, I'm not saying for sure, but maybe the door could be open. The Ben Ish Chai says not, is unless it's very hot, and you're going to suffocate to death, so then the person's allowed to open up the door as long as it's done in a modest fashion. Okay, so let's take this back a notch. Where does it all come from? Maran makes this up. Someone else making this up. You wanted to say something?
No,
Okay.
listening.
Listening, okay.
Yeah.
Chazal, b'masechet brachot. You see the halakha? Chazal in Tractate Brachot, hifligu, they spoke very highly, b'shevach hadavar, praising the matter liot sanua b'bet hakisef, people who are modest in the bathroom. Chazal spend an unusual amount of time praising people who are tznuim, who are modest in the bathroom. V'amru sham, and they write there, Shekol hatsanua bevet hakiseh, anyone who is modest in the bathroom, nitzol mishlosha devarim, is saved from three things. Min hanechashim, from the snakes. Min ha'akravim, from the scorpions. Umin ha'mezikin, and from the demons. And this might seem like, if you do this, Hashem's going to take care of you for that. Rashi seems to understand this in a little bit more of a rational fashion. The Rashi explains in parentheses, Shemitoch tzniuto, because you're so modest, mitnaheg benachat of ishtika, he acts quietly and very gracefully. Ven hanechashim margishim, the snakes don't even know that he came in, lihitkanot bo, in order to bite him. Va'af hamazikin chasin alav, and even the demons have mercy on him because he's acting so nicely in the bathroom. That's what Rashi explains. It's not like a guarantee that if you sneer in the bathroom, that's going to happen. But if you are, then it'll make less problems for any other creatures who are living in the bathroom, and they're probably going to leave you alone.
What can I say? It's my-
Do you understand, though, how lucky you are to live where you live? My friends, you have a bathroom in your house next to your bedroom, and the things are lights, are clean. We complain, a little toilet paper on the floor. Guys, these people in the middle of the night were stomping out to some hole in the middle of nowhere with snakes and scorpions, and it was dark, and it was scary, and some people didn't go to the bathroom at night. They were too afraid.
They had outhouses in those days.
Right, this is scary
I'm
stuff.
probably the only one here.
The closest thing you get to such a thing is when you go to a porta potty somewhere.
Yeah.
You know those
That's
things?
the closest, yeah.
It's the closest you get. Like, oh, it smells and it's bad. Ugh. My friends, that's not even close to where everyone had to go to the bathroom in the Gemara. You have to say, Hashem, thank you very much for putting me in the year 2014. You've really helped me live in a world which is much more comfortable than other people. It's not a bad thing to say, to give thanks to Hashem for this thing also.
I grew up on a ranch in Texas where until 18 years of age, we had an outhouse, a wooden outhouse with a hole in it, and they had a deep hole like 6 feet into the ground. You had to dig a big hole, like 6 feet deep, and it's about this wide, and about this long, and about this wide. And they put the little house over the hole.
Wow.
Yeah, and I grew up that way until 18. I didn't have an indoor.
A lot of countries have the same
Yeah.
thing till
A
now.
lot of countries are still that way today, but I'm probably one of the few people who actually grew up that way
A lot of
in my
Russian
youth.
places
You know.
in Turkey.
Also like that.
Albania,
And it was like 50 yards away from the
Still
house.
today.
Because you,
Yeah.
you don't put them close to the house. It stink too much.
Tachlis, we're spoiled. You understand?
Yeah.
We're spoiled.
Yes, fine.
And when Americans came first there and see this kind of toilet, they say, "Oh, why didn't you do it in the house?"
Because they don't realize what's going on over there. Why did they do it in the house? So the Gemara speaks very highly of people who are very modest in the bathroom. V'yesh omrim, some even say,
You mean that time he had a bathroom?
outside of the house.
He's the one.
They had
Beit, like you
outhouses.
said, was literally an outhouse. It was
An outhouse.
like
Those
a,
days
What we call today an
Yeah.
outhouse. Yeah.
Separate.
not without plumbing, just
bathroom.
a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
It was a glorified hole in the ground. That's
Yeah.
what it was. It always
Yeah,
had walls.
that's all it is.
I
It was a little wooden
Jews,
shack on top of the
Jews
hole.
always went to the bathroom with walls around it, always. And it's part of our tradition. You read the Gemara, very often you'll see that many customs come from the fact that the bathroom has walls.
And like mine was near the edge of the woods, so yeah, there could have been snakes nearby, you know,
Right?
or
All
animals.
kinds of animals that would
Yeah.
come, sure.
Snakes and scorpions, we understand. But what about mazikim?
Oh,
Do
well.
our bathroom have mazikim nowadays?
All the hard questions in one day. Didn't I speak once about Mizakim in this class already? The Rambam, the Meiri, the psychological effect. I didn't say that in this class.
I don't think Rambam is a good source for speaking about mazikim.
No, I didn't speak about it here?
I don't think so.
Just do me a favor, remind me tomorrow in the beginning of the class, because we're going to speak about it again anyways tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll speak about Mizakim. That will. Not much, but so we understand exactly what it is that we're talking about. V'yesh omrim, some say, af chalomotav miyoshvim alav, that even your dreams will be very good dreams. What does that have to do with going to the bathroom next?
If you catch up some mazikim from the bathroom and bring it.
So you should know, the Gemara mentions that nightmares come from mizikim, from these forces that whisper all kinds of scary things into your ears.
I've heard that. Yeah.
You should know that in real human life, if you go to someone's ear in the middle of the night and you whisper into their ear over and over something, they're going to dream about it. People dream what they're hearing, what they're thinking, in their subconscious. People will dream about Alaska and the frozen tundra when they're cold in their bedroom. They'll wake up and there's the windows open, right? Like they're very high correlations with what a person hears and feels while they're sleeping. That's an interesting thing. Many people have written about dreams on a secular level, not a Jewish level. So, according to Chazal, the bad dreams come from the mizikim. So he says that a person who's tsanua in the bathroom, says Rashi in parentheses, she'ena mazikin mavhilin oto. The demons take upon themselves not to scare him. V'amru od bebraita, sham, they say there in the Braita, she'en korin tsanua You don't call someone tzanua, modest, ela lamishu tzanua bevet hakiseh. Only to somebody who is tzanua, modest, in the bathroom. And bulletproof stockings isn't the only thing that makes you tzanua. And part of it is how you act in the bathroom. Essentially, how you act when you're in private. That's actually what really makes a person modest. It doesn't mean that in public you could, forget about everything else. Just really, at the end of the day, there are some countries where ladies dress very modestly outside of their house, and they come inside of their house, and it's like it's a whole new world. It's a different reality. That's not snoot. That's not modesty. That's a false form of modesty. It's not only for other people. It's also for you and yourself, and you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we had all these interesting tidbits now about scorpions and snakes and mizikin. Tomorrow we're going to talk about mizikin. For right now, let's stop here. We're going to take now until 10 o'clock. Remember, we used to have chavruta time in this class? So we're going to go back. Thank God, now we're in a new siman. We're going to go back to our chavruta time. Yeah, from now till 10, let's break up into groups all around the tables. You don't all have to stay right here. And we'll review everything we did until now. Make sure you review Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah very well, because we're going to speak about both of them. So know what Maran said, know what the Ramah said. Also go to Halacha Bran if you have time. Maybe some of you who were here for it, you can teach this footnote to somebody else who wasn't here during that time. If not word for word, then at least the general idea of what was going on. All right, Shukah.
You're probably gone there too, right? You're gonna be protecting